I'm Piero Bonamico, one of the creators of the Choral Excellence series. Our mission is to help the world of choral music through the creation of meaningful, high-quality instructional materials and exciting choral performance videos. It's in this effort that I'm pleased to present Donald Nguyen's Choral Techniques and Methods. This series is designed to help choral conductors improve the quality of their rehearsals and performances by addressing some of the key issues of this complex art form. I never fully realized how powerful Donald Nguyen's choral techniques were when I was studying with him at the Eastman School of Music. It was only after I entered the field of choral music professionally and began using these techniques that I understood how essential they were. I'm confident that they will become a regular component of your conducting arsenal. This video, Energy, Beauty, and Placement, the Qualities of Fine Singing, will discuss sound and tone quality. It's important to understand that in order to teach and lead a choir successfully, we must know what to teach, how to teach it, and how to inspire people enough to make them want to learn what we have to offer. Here, Donald Nguyen will present you with a foundation on which all your further teaching may rest. Energy, Beauty, and Placement, the Qualities of Fine Singing. Section 1, Sound. How do we develop our concept of fine singing, and how do we define our fine singing sound? Section 2, Energy. The importance of energy in the choral setting, an exercise to teach energy, and developing energy in slow, soft passages. Section 3, Beauty. How do we define and teach beauty? Section 4, Placement. The imagery of proper vocal placement. And finally, an exercise to teach placement.
Okay, sound. I have to decide what kind of a sound I'm going to teach, and it needs to be based on the greatest singers I've ever heard sing, and the way they looked when they sang, sort of also. I still, on PBS, when the great singers come on, and Lisa and I are watching, I will say, Lisa, look at that formation of the E vowel in the upper range. I'm just in it like that as to how they look when they do what they do. Now, in baseball, you teach a little leaguer to bat by putting both feet, pitchers down there, batters here looking that way, both feet right here. And then when you swing the bat, you just lean the body and you swing. You don't take the foot and bring it up here and then a giant step out here and then swing. Like, wham! You don't do that. You keep the feet steady and you just swing the bat. Now that's the way you teach him. Then he goes to see the Dodgers or somebody play ball, and you see somebody do it exactly wrong and hit a home run. There are people who do things really weird, and it's really successful. But we don't teach that. We teach the norm. We teach what works for the most people. And so that's what we would consider in trying to emulate the way singers look, but not every singer. But we do emulate the way they sound. And I don't mean that youngsters should sound old, or that anybody should sound older than they are. Everybody should sound exactly their age. And I say that especially to sopranos at school all the time. When some voice major comes in and she sounds too gone old and a little wobbly, I'll say, how old are you? She'll say 19. I said, sound like you're 19. Don't even sound like you're 20. Do that again. And it's always better. So age is crucial in the naturalness of our developing of sound. However, a voice teacher once told me, when I asked my voice teacher, will I ever be able to sing as well as George London, who was my idol way back then, a great bass baritone? And the teacher says, well, I don't know if you'll ever have that big a voice, but you can sing as well if you'll work as hard. So what we emulate and copy from the great singers is not their big sound or their older maturity of sound, but their quality. Not this quality, their refined quality, what they've learned to do well, how well they sing. And I have found that high school kids, junior high kids, can sing as well in many aspects as a professional singer. Just not as loud, not as high, and for not as long. But they can sing as well if I know enough to teach them. That says my choir should sound like a professional choir, just not as old as a professional choir. But they should sing as well as a professional choir if I have enough rehearsal time and if I know how to teach them what to do. I can't do that if I don't know what greatness is. And I can't do it if I don't know how to teach that greatness. And I can't do it if I don't know how to inspire them to want what I'm teaching. But the first thing right now is we have to know what it is. And how are we going to know? How are we going to know how Domingo sings? All we can do is listen and 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 listen to our favorite singers that we think are appropriate role models for whomever we're working, with whomever we're working. And it happens. You get that sound image in the back of your head, as I said yesterday, and it's like a CD playing of the finest choir in the world. And it's always playing back there. And when you hear your choir, you hear the difference like this, and you bring them together like this by teaching your choir to come to this. And it's absolutely possible with any group on earth. Here they are, here's the role model, and they just, as I said yesterday, keep getting closer and closer and closer. But why doesn't that happen more often? How many choirs do you know of that you would say, this choir that I know about is a phenomenal choir. I'd like to hear a concert by them 4 nights in a row. Well, it ought to be every choir we know. The only reason it isn't that way is because the conductors don't know how to do it better. And it ain't all that hard, as I also said yesterday, to get people to sing well. Like I said, we could bring people in here off the street for 10 minutes, give them $10, and at the end of 10 minutes, they'd sound pretty doggone good. Give the same people a violin for 10 minutes, wouldn't work. Nothing would work. But singing, yes. So we must accept that responsibility that it isn't all that hard, and we have to do it. They're capable. Every choir is capable. There is no choir incapable of sounding good. Even 11 people, all over 70. That's right. Those 11 people can be taught to really sound good. Not as good as they would have at 40, but really good. Okay? Okay? Now, let's start trying to think what kind of sound, other than listening to these sounds, would we formulate? Or if we've listened, what would it be if we really didn't go to the right and we didn't go to the left? And that's important, folks. Right in the center of singing. Not overly anything. Usually I will go through the room, if it's a smaller class, and have a chalkboard, and say, I'd like each one of you to give me an adjective that describes for you good tone. We'd start right down here, and the first gentleman would give his, like rich, warm, beautiful, energetic, sweet, lovely, vibrant, brilliant, and we go through the whole room. Every single one you can come up with would fit under one of 3 columns, either energy, beauty, or placement. And energy, the words would be alive, animated, buoyant, energetic, exciting, lifting, spirited, vibrant, and vital. What kind of sound would that be? Pretty great one, right? If everybody sang, if everybody in the choir sang every note of every song that way, is that possible? Sure it is. Then other words would fit under beauty. Clear, floating, beautiful, free, lovely, lyrical, natural, pure, and relaxed. And then other words would fit under resonance and placement. Brilliant, focused, forward, full, rich, ringing, resonant, round, warm. Those qualities. You have to have all three. If you just have an energetic sound, it can border on yelling and shouting sometimes, because energy can shout. Beauty, if you only have beauty, that's like a really beautiful person with no personality. Boring. That's right, boring. And choirs who are very conservative, and everything is perfect and perfectly beautiful, and that's it. Sort of nothing louder than mezzo forte, nothing softer than mezzo piano, and da-da-da-da-da. One song's interesting, the rest is really boring. Placement. Without placement, there is no focus and resonating ring to the voice, and it is not exciting. It may be energetic, but it's not exciting with depth and substance to the sound. So it takes all three. But that's all it takes. Here I've narrowed again a major concept of tone quality, singing sound, down to three things. Anybody can remember three things. We can have our brain tuned to three things at least, so that if at any moment our choir is not energetic or beautiful or resonating properly, we can respond just that fast. How do you teach energy? You know the way I'm speaking to you right now? Look up here and watch my eyes. Look at my eyebrows. They're up, aren't they? And the cheeks are a little bit raised like I'm going to smile, even though I'm not smiling. And I'm speaking with a bunch of energy and electricity in that sound. That's the way people need to sing. I'm sitting on the front edge of the chair, and I'm actually, with my one foot that's down on this thing, it's on the toe. My heel is actually raised. I didn't know it was, but it is. I'm about ready to fly off this chair. That's energy. Now remember, I said yesterday that the voice is the only living human instrument, and anything that lives, like a plant or a tree or you, is energy. Energy is life. That means our voice is energy. So energy of these three things, the energy will be 90%, the beauty 5%, and the placement 5%. How do I get my choir to do that? Number one, I have to do what I just did to you and what I'm doing up here all day yesterday and all day for the next 2 days. I am the source of energy. I am the example of energy. I am the role model for them of energy. I am the picture. I am energy, folks. Be like me. I remember my high school choral director, who was phenomenal. Wonderful guy named Dr. Freeman Burkhalter in little tiny Bern, Indiana, 2,000 people. He had a bachelor's from Wittenberg and a master's from Northwestern and a doctorate from Columbia, all in voice and violin. And he came back to this little hometown and taught orchestra, band, and choir his whole life. By the time I graduated from high school, it was like I had a degree in music. He also conducted a Mennonite choral society. We were Mennonites in that town, of 200 singers doing Messiah every Christmas. And in June, we'd alternate Elijah, Creation, and Brahms Requiem. And I started singing in that when I was in the 8th grade, next to these men who knew it by memory. You know? So when I went to college, man, I already had a degree in oratorio, viola, drums in the band, singing the choir. College was almost a letdown. It was. But he used to say to the choir, we had in that school there were 140, there were 40 in each class, approximately. So there were 160 in the high school, and we had an a cappella choir of 90, and an orchestra of about 60, and a band of 70 or 80. Every kid in the school was in all three, you know. But he would, when our a cappella choir was rehearsing, he would say, all that he would do is say, I make a fool of myself in front of you. Do what I do. Do what I do. I've never forgotten that. He was our source. And he saw to it that we did what he did, and for like 25, 30 years in a row, the band, orchestra, and choir got first superior rating at contests, and he did all three of them all the time. What a marvelous human being and what he gave to that little town. So if you're comfortable being this wow kind of person up in front of the choir that gets them to forget about themselves and sing, then great. If you're not, what are you going to do? You develop that kind of personality at home when no one's around, and you're walking around, and you start developing right in your living room. You're my choir. And when I ask you to sing energetically, you don't really get it, choir. When I say sing, ya-ha-ha, some of you just go, ya-ha-ha. You're trying, but you don't know what it's like to really feel positive, spirited energy. So we're going to pretend there's an empty chair next to you, and your best friend just comes into choir, and you want that best friend to sit down there beside you quickly before he sits anyplace else, and you'd say to that person, hey, come here and sit down. Just like that. You wouldn't not say, hey, come here and sit down. You wouldn't do that. You'd say, hey, come here and sit down. So we're going to pretend I'm that best friend, and you're going to now become an actor, that one-third actor, and it's going to be real to you that I, in fact, am your best friend. And you're on the front half of that chair, and you're going to almost leap out of it at me and say, hey, come here and sit down, Don. Just like that on my cue. And you'll be very serious up until then. Ready? And go. Great. Great. That was really marvelous. Now, it was. I would come and sit down. However, we're about a dozen, 15, 20 in here who just, that doesn't come easy. It's like, hey, what are we doing this? So that would happen in any choir. So the next thing I would say is, now, there were these few people that they were a little shy, and that's good. We need more shy people in our society. That would be wonderful to have more shy people. But not in here. Everybody in the choir has to be an extrovert when we're in choir. You can be an introvert as you then go to your next class or go home, whatever you do. So in here, you will have to find a way to come from within yourself and be Jim Carrey or whoever and say, hey, come here and sit down, and by gosh, you mean it. Because when we do it this time, I'll try and pick those 7 or 8 people, and then they'll stand and do it by themselves till they get it. Okay, here we go. Sober. Now. Yes, now you see that always works. That always works. Now, I would never do that. I would never follow through with that, but I've never had to. That just always works. You see, people will do what they know they have to do, as I said yesterday, and they won't do, much of the time, what they know they don't have to. Well, now, in my choir, they know they have to. All right? Now that we've got it, we're going to say the choir rehearsal has already started. And your best friend walks in, the empty seat's next to you, and we have a rule, nobody ever talks, ever, about anything in our rehearsal to anybody. And so you've got to get the person's attention, but you can't make any noise, and you got to go, hey, your eyes have to bug out, they hear it, just like that. So it'll be 3 times the energy you just gave me on the last one. Serious? Ready? And now. That's right. And just like that, would you say, ya-ha-ha? That same way. 3, 4. Ya-ha-ha. Up a half step. Ya-ha-ha. Ya-ha-ha. Now, you've already, at least half of you, gone less than you were when you said, hey, come here and sit down. So we have to do it again. Sober. Now, go berserk. Just soft. Ready? Yes. Yes, come on. Yes. Now, there were 3 people over here, and as I looked over here, there were probably a few over here who still don't get it. Sit back. But they would soon. Now, do you realize what a choir would sing like who sang that way all the time? Be unbelievable, wouldn't it? Unbelievably great. If that's all you taught your choir, it was just that, they'd be the best one in your county. And it can happen. Sit up. Please sing, the Lord is my light. That way. Now, come on. Eyes, face. You feel it in your whole body. You feel that. Hey, come here and sit down. 1, 2, 3. The Lord is my light. Now, on light, it has to sound, the Lord is one thing. The Lord is talking about God, for heaven's sake. It's got to be the Lord. It isn't the people. It's the Lord. Sing that and mean it that way. But your face is awake. 2, 3. The Lord is now, when you say, is my light, that isn't talking about a Lord. That's talking about as if I were close to the switches, I'd turn all the lights off in here, and then all of a sudden I'd turn them on. And that brightness is the way you should sound on the word light. Let's go. 2, 3. The Lord is my light. That's right. Now that's the way we sing every song. There is no other way. That's the only way. That way. Every word, every note, every syllable, every phrase, every song. And I teach that just as regularly as I teach anything else. And I will even say to the choir, remember, hey, come here and sit down? Sing it that way. And maybe it's been 2 months or 6 months since we did it. Or maybe we say, we're going to do, hey, come here and sit down, folks. You guys are forgetting this. Come on, let's do that whole thing again. And we'll do it in February after we did it in September. But you see, that's the 1/3 theater, actress, drama for sure, but it's also teaching singing. When I first started teaching in college, I was both choral director and voice teacher. And I would have my voice majors, one of whom was Timothy Noble, who will be singing from the Met, who will be singing for you Friday. I would say, when you go to the practice room and practice your vocalizing, your German lieder, whatever it is you're doing, you sit there as though you stand there as though there are 7 or 8 little preschoolers sitting in that practice room with you on the floor with their little legs crossed, like they're looking up at their kindergarten teacher who's telling them a story. And you got to tell the story, even if you're vocalizing, like, ya ha, nia. You've got to keep those kids' attention like the most exciting story they've ever heard. All the time you're practicing. All the time you're singing. If the song's an angry song, like the kindergarten teacher telling about the big giant. Ya ha, nia. It has to be some drama, some energy, some communication all the time, and you don't separate practicing from performing or rehearsing from performing. It's all performing. Sometimes there are people there, sometimes there aren't. That's energy. Can you imagine a choir singing flat who sang the way you sang a minute ago? Impossible, except an occasional leading tone. Can you imagine a choir with dull tone? With lazy diction? They're going to do it. They're going to do it if they just have energy. Obviously, a slow, soft song is the hardest one to pull off. Right? Singers like loud, fast songs. Audiences like loud, fast songs. So, I'll give you the advice I was given. When I started my first college job in 1963, my college started a few weeks later than a major university near me. And the choral director there was a man who had been there for 30 years. And he was really good. And he was really successful. The choral program had their own plane, their own airplane. He made more than the football coach. This was Purdue University, 100,000 years ago. And so I called him up, Al Stewart, and said, could I come follow you around for a day? He said, sure. Great big guy. At the end of the day, I said, Al, every group was so exciting. Tell me the one thing. Narrow it down, you know. The one thing I can do. One thing you do that makes that. He said, we sing the hell out of the louds and we sing the hell out of the softs. Isn't that great? Sure. Sing this. Again, we were saying, the Lord is my light, forte, and sing the heck out of it with that great tone you just used and an animated, hey, come here and sit down face. 2, 3. The Lord is my light. Now let's slow it down to adagio, pianissimo, and sing, the Lord is my light. The Lord is my light. Now sing that first word, the. The. Sing it 4 times. And I'm going to conduct bigger and bigger and bigger, and you get softer and softer and softer. But you feel and sound like I look. The. No, sing soft. Now softer. Now softest. That's the way you sing soft, slow songs. Every note of the whole song that way. Because energy is the foundation on which all else will rest. Some people say beauty is relative. What one person thinks is beautiful, another person might not. I doubt that. It can happen in some cases, but if we go outside and there's really a gorgeous tree with lots of lovely flowers around it, and we were to vote, we'd all vote that's beautiful. So if someone comes in and sings, Caro mio ben, and somebody else comes in and goes, Caro mio ben, we'd always say, first beautiful, second ugly. So it isn't all that relative. But to define what is beautiful is sometimes more difficult than defining what is ugly. What is ugly? Raspy, shrill, hooty, breathy, all that stuff. Pinched, tight. What is a beautiful tone? Well, it's clear and floating, beautiful, free, lovely, lyrical. Lyrical, lyrical, lyrical. Natural, pure and relaxed. How do we teach that beauty? Let's sit up again. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Sing it as well as you can.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Now, most singing is done through image. Most teaching of singing is done through imagery. You can take the violinist and actually teach vibrato like this. You can work the embouchure of a wind player's mouth. A singer, it's all inside. It's usually most involuntary muscles. And so we find through imagery, if they picture something, they will sing better. For example, sopranos picture a blue sky without any clouds and a lake without any waves, and sing that again. And it's always better. Place it in the head. Place the tone in the head. You don't make the tone in the head, but you think that, it's better. We're going to do imagery right now with the intensity that a comedian who does impressions of other actors and actresses do it that well right now. And we're going to do an impression of the finest 6th grade choir in America who's singing My Country, the same song. You've got to feel like you're 12. You really do. And you have to sing like you're 12, but you have the best choral director in America teaching you, so you'll be better than we are.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Yeah, a lot of your ah vowels weren't open. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I. Come on, you're the best 6th grade choir. You're not just 12. See?
My country,
You're 12.
'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Now, same teacher, great teacher, but now you're in the 8th grade. You're junior high. You're the best junior high choir in America. So you're older, and now you sing not necessarily louder, but more beautifully.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Now we're going to go to all the high school all-state choirs in the country and pick a quartet out of each one. The best quartet of seniors. Now, doesn't have to be louder, but it's far more beautiful this time. 3.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
I saw one choral director in here who was singing this way. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of Only one. Thank you. It was great. Now, we're going to go to the finest schools of music, Juilliard, Indiana University, all these big ones, and take out their doctoral students in vocal performance. Now, you'll have to sound like them. Remember I told you your brain can tell your voice what to do? You can sound like a country singer, an opera singer, a rock singer, whatever it is, and it'll do it. Now you'll have to sound with the beauty of a well-trained doctoral student in vocal performance. 2, 3.
My country, 'tis of thee sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
That's already about 8 times better than the first time you sang. Not as a 6th grader, before that, when I said sing it well. Now we're going to go to the Met, Chicago Lyric, Covent Gardens, all these greatest people from the Met. Now that's who you are. Don't sing like them. Be them as you sing more beautifully. More beautifully. 2, 3.
My country, 'tis of thee sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Why would you not sing that way all the time when you know how? You know how? Why would you, since you're a professional in the singing business, why would ever there be a singing sound come out of your mouth, let alone when somebody asks you to do it well, that would be any less well done or less beautiful than that? Stay up, because I want your attention here. If you were professional golfers coming together for something, would you just, for the heck of it, do bad at putting? Never, not even once. Or professional tennis players do a wrong backhand? Never. But professional conductors will sing poorly or sing mediocre. The way you just sang, there should never be a sound out of your mouth less well than that. And from this day till you die, you keep getting better. I taught you nothing. Nothing. You knew it all. You just chose not to do it. And I've never worked with a choir, including junior high and elementary kids, or a high school second choir out in the country, who couldn't do just what you did and get better, 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 without teaching them a thing. Relax. Now you know what beauty is. It's simply a beautiful sound. Now the way you just sang is the level of beauty which your choir should sing all the time. All the time. And when they don't, it should be like that 10 fingernails down the chalkboard right behind you, where you can't stand it. You want to say, no, 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 no. If you don't react that violently inside, you'll accept the sounds that aren't good. Placement's another imagery thing. You know, you've been told by choral directors and teachers ever since you were a kid, get the sound out of the throat. Don't sing from the throat. Well, the voice is made in the throat. That's where the voice, vocal cords are right there. We sing from the throat, yes. Imagery-wise, there is nothing in the throat. When we talk, air comes up and mixes with the vocal cords, and they vibrate a little bit. And that sound then comes right up out the mouth and falls down the floor. Because there's no projection, like when I'm talking to you right now. It's just coming right over the lower lip on the floor, just like that. Just like that. We talk like this. We sing like this. So when I sing, the whole pretending imagery comes into place, and you pretend there is nothing in your throat. No vocal cords, no nothing. There's a secret passageway only singers have. It goes up the back of their head, over the top, and right up here where most people have brains, we have vocal cords. Especially tenors. And when that air goes up the back of the head, it strikes the vocal cords, they vibrate all over the place. So now the whole head, the cheekbones, the nose, the forehead, everything's vibrating up here like crazy. And then the tone doesn't come down and go out the mouth. It goes from the hairline to the tip of the nose, and it goes out like this in a focused direction right out of there, like a cone of tone. If that in fact takes place, all singing takes place above my hands, right? I'm right cutting into the cheekbone, so I sing with the cheekbones and everything above them all the way around. put your hands up there, not like this, but like cutting in there, underneath the cheekbone, and sing, "Ni-ai." That's right, and be aware, by raising your eyebrows, that that sound is coming up here, into the head, and out your forehead in that cone of tone. Here we go. Up a half step. Fine, now let's go back down to this pitch. Hands up, and sing well, but below your hands. From the throat. Yes, you see how big and fat that sounds? And that's the way especially men want to sound, especially basses. And so they sing down there. Altos want to sound there too, and we'll discuss that later when we talk about the sections. But it's important that I teach my singers to know the difference, to be able to do both. Not just teach them to sing in the head, but say, let's do that again, which I would do with them, where we'll start at that pitch, and then we'll go up by half steps, and every alternating half step be above the hands, below the hands, above the hands, start out above the hands, and raise the eyebrows and see that cone. Up a half step below the hands. Above the hands. Right, now we'll do that again. And to reinforce the right, when we do it above the hands, I want you to feel happy and good and positive, and yes, this is incredibly wonderful. And when you go below the hands, say, oh, this is terrible, terrible, terrible. Just look terrible and feel terrible. Here we go. Right there, above the hands. Below the hands. Above the hands. Stay above. Basses. Would you sing this pitch right here on ya? Tenors, altos, sopranos. Sing that on ya, above the hands. Now sing it with a hey, come here and sit down. Ya, here we go. Now sing it with also the beauty of the opera singers you were singing a minute ago. The energy, the beauty, and the placement up here. All of it. Here we go. You can sing like that for a 2.5-hour rehearsal of the Beethoven Missa Solemnis, and you won't be vocally tired at the end of the 2.5 hours. That sound will cut through any orchestra, and that sound will blend perfectly when all the people are doing it. You'll never even have to talk about blend unless somebody is insensitive to the dynamic and just singing too loud. But you're all human beings. If you sing with the energy we talked about and the beauty we talked about and the placement we just finished talking about, there's nothing else we need to talk about. You'll all sound like humans, and it'll be vibrant and alive and wonderful.